How you guys doing? I'm alive. This is an unexpected, but should be interesting. And if it isn't, it should be video because I just got a really cool breakthrough, but almost like blow my mind type breakthrough from doing White Lion's version of Golden Earrings, Radar Love just now. Thanks to Vito Bratta. He's one of my favorite players. Totally underrated, as are White Lion, but especially Vito Bratta, totally underrated in rock. But I want to explain what he did for me tonight through his music, through his solo in Radar Love. Connected the dots for me. I'm Aspie. I have Asperger's, so I see things differently, and sometimes I'm hard to reach. But when you reach me, I really get it. And like, I never forget it, like it's in my bones or something. You know, I really get it on a deep level when I actually get things. And something had eluded me, and that's diminished seventh arpeggios, especially when used in blues music and rock. And it just went over my head all my life. And Randy Rhoads did it great, but it just went over my head. I can now play, I believe, I haven't done it yet, but I know I can play. I believe in my heart I can play the Randy Rhoads cadenza to Suicide Solution from the tribute album with total conviction now because of what Vito Bratta did for me tonight. He made me realize, understand that diminished seventh, dominant seventh feeling and sound in blues rock. And I never got that until tonight doing this. I wasn't expecting to get that. I just got it as a secondhand byproduct of doing the song. And rather than play with it, because if I play and start playing, I'm going to just want to jam. That's going to ruin the whole thing. And if I make a lesson out of it, it seems like I'm not doing it justice. So I'm going to make a rant lesson, just a bed rant lesson. This is kind of a music theory lesson about the diminished seventh in blues rock and how Vito explained it to me by his playing. And I'll even include the diminished seventh in classical music, like Yngwie Malmsteen's thing a little bit, maybe later or maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Just to tie it in. So let's do this. Should I get a guitar? Okay, let me follow. Well, here. Well, just hold it right there. I'll be right back. I promise. Let me get a guitar. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my black. Oh, the phone just went down. Put my black guitar here. Maybe the guitar is worth doing this with. Okay. Blues music. If I explain it by talking, you're not going to get it. I don't think it's just too complex. Radar Love is an F sharp minor, or whatever you want to call it, rock, Dorian blues. Here's the thing. If you're an F sharp, you have two diminished things going on. You've got, if you play the F sharp dominant seventh, you've got an A diminished. Wait, let me get that right here. You got an A diminished thing going on. It's basically F sharp dominant seventh, sometimes flat nine. But basically it can be it's either an F sharp dominant seventh or an F sharp dominant seven flat nine, and you have this diminished thing, the tritone here between E and A sharp in the key of F sharp, and that's cool. I kind of understand that. I mean, I kind of did before, but it wasn't crystal clear. But I get that. But here's the trick. When you play the 4 chord, which is B7 in F sharp, you're going to have, sad to say, but you're going to have what turns out to be, because B has a D sharp, if you play B7 flat 9, B dominant 7 flat 9, you have a D sharp diminished 7th arpeggio. But guess what? That turns out to also be an F sharp diminished 7th arpeggio, which is the key you're in. So you can play in the key of F sharp, you can play an F sharp dominant diminished 7th. And I hear that now, and I see that in my head, and I understand that. I never did before. It's not a classical thing. It's not even a dominant seventh thing on the root, the F sharp, but you're playing F sharp diminished seventh in honor of the B dominant seven, which has an F sharp diminished seventh in it because it has that D sharp diminished seventh, which is also because diminished sevenths are symmetrical. D sharp diminished seventh also has F sharp diminished seventh in it, so you can play an F sharp diminished seventh arpeggio, then go to an F sharp dominant seventh with its own diminished arpeggio, which is the A sharp diminished, or sometimes A sharp diminished seventh arpeggio. So, and that's what he did in the solo. And that's such a beautiful sound now to me. Push the F sharp. First, play the F sharp diminished seventh. That's the key you're in. If I can do this here. Hear that? Then go to the F sharp dominant seventh, which has the A sharp diminished in it. So it's a Before I explain how that relates to the Randy Rhoads solo, let me explain how that relates to a blues turnaround first. Let's get boring before we go to Randy. So that's very beautiful to me. All because I understand Vito's solo now. And then he does a thing like this, okay? But that fits a blues because you have the turnaround, let's say F sharp dominant seventh, F sharp diminished seventh. That's your 4 chord. That's your B 7 dominant 7 flat 9. Then you have the 5 chord diminished seventh, which is the C sharp, which is the 5 chord the dominant 7 flat 9, and then back to the root, the F sharp dominant seventh. Or you can go from the backwards, F sharp dominant seventh to the 5 diminished seventh, which is actually a D sharp diminished seventh. And then the E diminished seventh, which is also F sharp diminished seventh as a 4 chord, and then the F sharp dominant seventh, which has its own F sharp has its own G sharp diminished seventh. If I said A sharp, I meant no. I did mean A sharp. Yes, I did mean A sharp. Yes, F sharp diminished G sharp. Oh no, I'm in the key of E now. Oh, I went to the key of E. Rookie mistake. I went to the wrong key. If you're an F sharp diminished seventh, F sharp diminished seventh, F sharp dominant seventh, F sharp diminished seventh, F diminished seventh to F sharp dominant seventh. Okay, so the F, I was in the key E just now. F sharp dominant seventh, F sharp diminished seventh, F diminished seventh, F sharp dominant seventh, or backwards, F sharp dominant seventh, F sharp dominant seventh to wait. Oh yeah, I get it now. Yeah, F sharp dominant seventh to F diminished seventh, F sharp diminished seventh to F dominant seventh. That's the whole key. That's a blues turnaround. F sharp dominant seventh, F diminished seventh, that comes from the 5 chord, which is the C sharp dominant 7 flat 9. F sharp diminished seventh, which comes from the 4 chord, which is the B dominant 7 flat 9. But here it can be a F sharp diminished seventh because you're in the key of F sharp, and then the F sharp dominant seventh. Hear that? Well, that's what Randy Rhoads, great Randy Rhoads, does in his Suicide Solution cadenza. Only he's in the key of A. He does a lot of this. Okay, he's in A, but he can play F sharp dominant diminished seventh also, because F sharp diminished seventh is a diminished seventh. It's just a different way of spelling it. So you have F sharp or A diminished seventh. I'll call it A, because he's in the key of A. And then here he's playing the A diminished seventh, and then he goes to A dominant seventh. So that dun, dun, that's A dominant seventh, but it started with A diminished seventh. Hear that in Randy Rhoads when he does this? That's where he does it. And I understand that now. I can hear that. I can play it. I can feel it. I can make my own solos out of it. Thanks to Vito, because Randy was too sketchy. It was not enough material there. I couldn't get, why is he playing that stupid diminished seventh on the root? Why is he playing an A diminished seventh in a key of in an A blues scale, or an A key of A Dorian blues? It just didn't sink in until Vito did it. And then I connected that to the blues turnaround idea, and then to Randy's solo. I can do Randy's solo just like that now. I can feel it, I can do it, make it my own, because that's what Vito does in key of F sharp. It's the same basic idea. You know, it's playing with the F sharp diminished seventh. Then it's back to the F sharp itself, dominant seventh, which has its own A sharp diminished triad, or F sharp dominant seventh, and then he does a cool thing in F sharp, and then he does. Oh. And then I did the wrong chord. It's supposed to be C sharp. I played D. Well, nobody's perfect. It's a 4 chord, but the 5 chord sounds better, more complete. I should have played the C sharp chord there. I think that's true. Actually, they might have played B for all I know. I'd have to go back and hear it to be sure. I don't know. I don't even know anymore, but I played one of the two and he played one of the two. It might be the same, might be the wrong one. I might have played the wrong one, but I'll let it slide. There's that. And then that is a whole new diminished world for me that I can now do in my own music and stuff. You're going to hear a different sound from me now. I'm going to master diminished stuff. You can't master something, at least I can't master something that I don't believe in, don't feel, don't understand, and don't hear. I just can't do it. Even if my fingers could, I just can't. I just won't do it. But thanks to Vito Bratta, the great guitarist that got really underestimated in rock. Well, see, I'm already diminishing out. I'm just a diminishing fool. I get it now, you know? F sharp diminished, seventh. I mean, beautiful. And now the Yngwie Malmsteen thing, I always did understand, but I don't know why. I didn't know why I applied to blues. Now I'll do the Yngwie thing for you now too, since we're here. Yngwie's different. Yngwie's harmonic minor blues, diminished seventh, and that only uses the five chords as a dominant 7 flat 9, which is a Phrygian thing. If you're playing in E harmonic minor, you have B. Dominant 7 flat 9, which is the B Phrygian dominant mode. So your diminished is always a half step down from the key you're in. If you're in E minor, you're going to play a D sharp diminished seventh. That's the famous, Yngwie lick. Then he goes to the E minor lick. Different sound, completely different sound, and I understood that because it's diatonic. It's understandable to me. What even both are now, but that one I always understood. It's just playing the it's either on the 2 degree. So if you're in E minor, you can play F sharp diminished seventh because that's the 2 chord in E, or you can play the D sharp diminished seventh. The same thing, spelled different way because that's the leading tone. The D sharp is the major seventh in the E key of E harmonic minor. Just play the diminished seventh that goes along with the leading tone or the supertonic, which is the second tone of the harmonic minor, and then play maybe the minor triad arpeggio that you're in the minor key of. Different sound, and I understand that, but now I understand both. Now I've really got my head around diminished stuff. Thank you, Vito. Vito, if you're watching this, you rule. Sorry that you didn't get the credit you deserved in rock. But now I'm doing the Yngwie style, and then you would do an E minor from there. Different sound than the rock thing. And I understood that, what I'm doing right now, Yngwie, but I didn't understand the rock thing until I learned Radar Love by White Lion. I wasn't expecting to learn that. I didn't learn it for that I didn't learn the song for that reason. I just liked the song and I wanted to learn it. But Vito just opened up not only diminished stuff in blues and blues rock, blues oriented rock, or whatever that, if that's a thing, B-O-R, bore, blues oriented rock, and the Randy thing. The Randy did that in the Suicide Solution Cadenza. And I never play that solo mainly because I never understood the diminished thing he did. If I don't understand it, I don't do it. It feels fake. But now I get it. Love you guys. Peace, love, and rock and roll.